Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this Torchlight 3 video, I want to do a general overview of what is Torchlight 3, what is all in the game, and is it something you should have on your radar. One quick announcement before we go ahead and talk: I will be doing a giveaway of one copy of Torchlight 3 a week for the next 3 weeks, and that will last throughout the month of October. I will be announcing the winners on stream, and in order to qualify for the giveaway, you do need to be on the DMGCREW Discord. You can find the link down below for all of that information and juicy details. Now let's go ahead and talk Torchlight 3. Torchlight 3 itself is a shared world action RPG. The cities are shared. You can see other players standing around in them. You can see their player badge that we'll talk about a little bit later on. And there's also different forts that players can build, and they have their own piece of land that other players can come across and see your building expertise, I guess. It's a really cool social aspect of the game. But the first thing I want to talk about a little bit more in detail is the world of Torchlight 3. The world overall is broken up into 3 acts that consist of different open world zones that have 2 to 3 side dungeons in them. And then in between each open world area, you have a passageway. These passageways are where you will encounter other people's forts. You will never encounter another player's fort in one of the open world maps with the dungeons. That won't happen. The forts are only encountered in these passageways. This makes the game feel a little bit linear in the sense that the story is literally, you go through this map, you do the first dungeon you encounter, the next one, sometimes there's a waypoint in between those two, you go to the passageway, and then you go to the next map, you rinse and repeat that all the way through the story. I would like to see a little bit more variety, side areas, maybe some hidden bosses or something like that in the near future, but as it is right now, that's what you can expect out of the Torchlight 3 world. Next up, I want to talk about forts. Forts are another integral part of Torchlight 3. It's a really great social feature. I touched on it a little bit, but I want to take it one step further and just talk about what the fort brings to the table in regards to your account, your character, and your world. First of all, the fort is fully customizable. It's your own plot, and it is shared account-wide. You can gather resources throughout Torchlight 3 in the open worlds and dungeons. You can gather rocks, trees, and stone to use to craft fort props to make your fort look all pretty and awesome so that other people will enjoy your creations. But there's more to it than just that. It also helps you out mechanically. There are items that you can place in your fort, and they are called monuments. What these are they're items that you put down, and they provide an account-wide buff, and also other people can interact with these to gain a buff as well. Currently, there are 4 monuments in the game. You have the luck tree, which is by far my personal favorite. This provides a small account-wide luck buff, aka magic find. At max level, there's 5 levels on the tree. You get 5% magic luck find. The level tree, from my experience, in my opinion, you can level it up rather quickly. The other 3 monuments are tied to each act. So the first one is the Goblin Monument. This provides you with an account-wide fire buff of up to 5%. All of them have a max level of 5 and they're 5%. So the next monument is tied to the Act 2 place, which is Hyvid, and so you'll get poison resist from this one. The third monument comes from Act 3, and instead of getting a lightning resist, which you would expect since it's a lightning act, instead it actually provides you with gold find. So those are the 4 monuments currently in the game. The luck tree, the way you level it up is by feeding it items that you don't need. The way that you level up the other 3 monuments, the fire resist, gold find, and poison resist, is by donating essences that you find within their given act and their map types. One other thing to note with these monuments is if you go to someone else's fort or passageway, you can actually donate essences to the monuments or items to the luck tree and get a 5-minute buff. At the time of recording this video, the luck buff, when you donate an item, based on the quality, you get a higher % buff of magic find, but it only lasts for 5 minutes no matter what type of quality. When it comes to the other 3 monuments for the resists and gold find, it is currently bugged, and if you donate essences, the second you leave that passageway, you lose that 5-minute buff. However, the luck tree buff does still work. This has been a known issue for a while, and I can't wait until it's fixed because I would definitely be picking up all the buffs possible just to be that much stronger. So now that you know about the world and you know about the social aspects of forts, you're probably wondering, is there multiplayer? There indeed is. You can play with up to 3 other players for a total group size of 4 players. The multiplayer currently is a little bit buggy and has very few issues. It's not super game breaking. and things that can be fixed, and just quality of life features that I would like to see improved. Overall, the multiplayer is where the most fun is at in the game in my perspective. There's also an offline option available to players as well. But I got to tell you, playing with one or more other players is honestly a blast. There's a lot of different cross synergies and party buffs and different things you can do to buff up each other and really synergize and work as a team. So what would be an ARPG without different types of classes or archetypes? And that's what I want to talk about next is Torchlight 3's classes. You have 4 different classes in the game. My personal favorite, the Realm Master. You lay down train tracks, and you can also do a melee build with a little bit of range tied in. It's overall my favorite class just because it's silly, wonky, and just OP. It's currently broken, which I'll have a video card linked up top for that of how to not die on the Realm Master. This will be getting fixed, I hope, in the near future, so... The next class is the Forged. This is your robot, and he kind of reminds me of a teapot, to be honest with you. But yeah, he's a robot. He has different mechanical pieces. This fulfills the warrior archetype within Torchlight 3. He has a melee and a ranged build options. You can do hybrid, which I do recommend. Pretty fun class overall. Next up, we have the Dust Mage, which this is your magic user. They have a light and dark meter that once you fill up, they provide different buffs, more damage for dark, and mana regen for light. It's really fun to try to balance these buffs and make sure you can have as much uptime on both of them as possible. All around a really fun class, and you know, I enjoy all the classes, which brings me to the last, and that is Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter is your ranged archer type of class in this game, and it is one of the stronger classes I think currently in the game. If I'm being honest with you, it has a lot of damage output potential, great survival and mobility, and also has pet build options as well, which I guess the Dust Mage and Realm Master do have pet options as well. So now that you know all about the classes, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the relics and just do a general overview here. I'm in the process of leveling up each relic to max so that I can do full in-depth views of each relic. But basically, the first one you have is the Blood Drinker. This one is really great for healing and sustaining your life with a little bit of bleed potential and damage output as well. It has a Buzzsaw finishing move that is really fun. You also have the Flaming Destroyer, which is my personal favorite. It does insane fire damage. You can do fire pillars. You can do a giant flaming sword smash with a finisher of giant flaming swords that smash down onto the ground. Third, you have Bane, which is another one of my personal favorites. This is a poison thematic weapon that can summon out a giant spider and then can also summon spiderlings. This is great if you're trying to do more of a pet build variant. You also have Cold Heart, which freezes enemies and is really good if you're looking into more of a crowd control type of relic. Last but not least, we have Electrode, and I would say that Electrode is probably the most damage output relic currently in the game. This is more of a lightning-based relic and just has a lot of output for damage potential. So now that you know about all the classes and relics in the game, let's talk about how those two intertwine. When you first make your character, you pick what class you want, and then you decide what relic you want. Neither of these items can be changed once the character is created, so you cannot change your relic later down the road. What you decide to start with is what you're stuck with on that character forever. So keep that in mind at character creation. So let's take this one step further and talk a little bit about character customization and builds and what that looks like, because that's an important part of the ARPG genre. Each class has 2 skill trees and then a 3rd skill tree that is their relic skill tree. In general, I'm going to do a very general overview here and keep an eye out for more in-depth guides per class, but I'm just really wanting this to be a general overview. Basically, the way it works is each skill on the skill tree, we'll talk about the class skill trees first, and then I'll touch a little bit on relic skill trees. So for each of the class skill trees, you have 7 skills on each. So there's 14 skills available for each class, excluding the relic. The relic brings more to the table, but I want to focus on the class portion first. So within each of these skill trees, each skill can be leveled up to a maximum level of 20. There's a catch here, though. In-game, the skills will show you that they can only go up to 10, but it has been confirmed by Michael Mayhem, one of the game's developers, that you can actually go past level 10 and enhance and increase the skill further. It's a little bit confusing as that is not displayed to the player at all, and this is an issue that I think does need resolved. You can actually go above 10, but not past level 20. Anyway, every so many levels, I think it's about the first 3 points you put into a skill, you get a tier 1 bonus. And this can be anything that buffs up the attack speed, the damage, different things like that. And then the tier 2 bonus on a skill is unlocked when you put 6 points into this skill. And these in general are passive abilities, anywhere from cooldown reduction to more damage to burning enemies, different things like that. And last but not least, to get the tier 3 bonus on a skill, you have to put 10 points into it. And this usually is going to be the big boy upgrade that makes the skill really shine. Tier 3 is a big investment, but can have a lot of payoff in the end. And one thing to keep in mind if you're thinking about builds is you have a total of 70 skill points. There are currently legendary sets in the game you can get, which if you have 3 pieces of the legendary set on, you get +2 skill points to all skills on your character. So in essence, that's 24 free skill points, but the thing is you have to have at least 1 point to get the bonus too. Anyway, before I get like really super in depth, let's go on and talk about relics. So there's 5 relics in the game that we went over, and they all basically have the same framework and kind of function in the same way. First of all, relics have active skills and passive skills on their skill tree. The majority of the active skill trees cost relic energy. Relic energy is regenerated while you're in combat. You can get things to increase this regeneration, reduce the cost of your relic spending skills, but with your spenders, when you're spending relic energy, you're building up for the finishing skill, which unlocks at character level 20. Once you've spent 200 relic energy, you can then cast this finishing move, which is a giant burst damage ability in general. So where it gets interesting though is every single relic has a defensive skill that you can use that is on a longer cooldown, does not cost relic energy, but also has damage output potential. And then you have in general a more expensive relic skill that costs about 50 relic power or relic energy. And then you have a lower cost one that you can actually spam, and if you get to it tier 3 on the lower cost relic skill, you can get the cost reduced by 50%, and in turn literally you can spam the skill like forever. It's really, really crazy and fun. The passive trees consist of your energy regen, some buffs to basic attack damage, and other fun things that play with each of the element of the relic. And I gotta say, overall, the relic system and the way that the mechanics work is really quite fun. I love the trying to balance your energy regeneration, spending, getting up to your finisher, and then the in-between of weaving in and out your class skills and stuff. Really, overall, the character and customization builds, they're not super in-depth. You're not going to find a Path of Exile type of depth here in this game. But what I really enjoy about Torchlight 3 is just how fun it is to play. It's a fun game in general. And if you really want to sit there and min-max and nerd out on builds, you totally can. Like that's something I've been doing on the stream, and it's something I really, really enjoy with the game. It's just not super in-depth as some of the other ARPGs on the market today. I know we got a little bit deeper there than I really wanted to with the relics classes and everything, but I feel like that's an important part of the game since it is an ARPG. A few more things I want to note here in the video, and that is Endgame. And what do you do? How's it all work? All right, so the first thing that's going to happen is once you've completed Act 3, you'll be around level 43 to 45. And from then on, you can grind up to the level cap of 60. I recommend finding a gauntlet map in the Fazir's challenge dungeon that has infinite spawning mobs. I have a feeling that this is going to get fixed, so another alternative is using the map works that you've gained through contracts. Contracts is probably one more thing I should touch on since that is another important part of the game. Basically, whenever you kill an elite or do certain things in the game, you earn fame. This fame levels up your contract. There's 3 different contract lines in the game that max out at level 40. But each time you get one to level 40, it then opens up a repeatable track of 9 different levels. They tend to be the same, however, the adventure contract gives you supply maps, which is item luck, magic find. The homesteader contract is going to give you gold maps, and the craftsman contract line will end up giving you supply maps that increase your harvesting and how many materials you find from nodes on the map. For me personally, I am maxing them all out, and then I'm just going to have it set to adventure forever and just continuously loop through getting those supply maps. And also, currently, at the time of recording this video, contracts and fame is the best way to get legendaries in the game. This will be fixed, but I'll have a card up top that shows you how to do that. One other thing of note is the legendary bags that you get on these contract lines, you can actually save until level 60. The item that is in the bag is decided what level the item is when you open it instead of time of obtaining the bag. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about endgame, post-story. What do you do? So when you finally finished Act 3, level 43 or 45, you will unlock enchanting and the endgame mode called the Fazir's Dungeon Challenge. The Fazir's Dungeon Challenge, I do have a full video explaining all of the endgame, and since I went so in-depth in the class and relics and stuff, I'm going to keep it really simple for you. In the current state of the game, the endgame consists of increasing challenges all the way up to floor 251. There are sets of cards that you can go through that are roguelike. When you pick on one, so for example, let's say you want to do the very first challenge. You'll click on it, you'll get a choice of 3 different cards. Each card will have a positive and a negative modifier on it. And once you pick your card, you'll go into that dungeon, complete it, you'll be on to level 2, and so on. Once you've completed a set, killed the boss at the end, you've unlocked a checkpoint. If you manage to die at any time during that set, you then have to go back to the first level in that set. As you increase challenges, it gets more difficult, monsters' health increases, there's different modifiers, and eventually you're going to get to a point where each challenge has a modifier for that entire challenge series of cards. Overall, the end game it feels very early in its life cycle, and it's confirmed that they're going to be adding more to the end game. So I'm excited for that, to see what all is going to come in that regard. Let's talk a little bit about enchanting here. Enchanting in Torchlight 3 is one of the important parts of the game, in my opinion. Basically, when items drop, they have a chance to have an open enchantment slot, and if they do, you can go to your enchanting altar that you unlock when you beat the story. The enchanting altar is account-wide. Once you've unlocked it once, you can use it at any time on any character. The Fazir's Dungeon Challenge, however, you have to actually beat the story on each character to be able to use that. But when it comes to enchanting, there's different recipes you can find in the game that adds different modifiers. It's nothing really new to the genre. If you've played any ARPG, you'll know exactly what this is all about. One trick that I do have to share about enchanting is I would put a different elemental defense on each piece, since your elemental defense is then added into your physical. It's a little bit strange how it all works, but just trust me, try to have a different piece of elemental resist on each item. Other than that, you can aim for crit, damage, different things like that. If it's a weapon, you're probably going to want more damage, different things like that. Also with enchanting, you can gain more enchanting mats by disenchanting recipes you don't need, items you don't need, and you gain these essences that are used to craft. One minor issue I have with enchanting currently is, I don't know if it's really with enchanting, but it's about gold in the economy. Currently, the game has a gold cap of 20,000 gold. It costs 1,000 gold to reroll a legendary. I literally gambled an entire gold cap on one item. The gold cap, I think, is the main issue here, not really with enchanting. But the rarities dictate the cost of the item. All the way up to 1,000 gold for legendaries. It gets expensive quick. The other thing with endgame that I want to mention here is loot and what are you chasing for at level 60. Once you hit level 60 in the game, currently that is the best gear you can find in the game. There's no other higher tier than level 60 gear. You have green quality gear, blue quality gear, and legendary. So once you're level 60, you're literally just farming for the best rolls on your gear and trying to get the best in slot and hunting for legendaries. Michael Mayhem, I think I mentioned him earlier, one of the developers, is very keen on the idea of Fazir's Dungeon Challenge, offering a new tier of gear, a more powerful set of armor to work towards. And I 100% support that idea, just to have something more to chase other than just going through the end game. Since really all the end game right now is seeing how high of a floor you can get to, which does show up on your player badge. Which brings me to my very last point in the game, and that is player badge and difficulty. Just so you know, when you make your character and you decide what difficulty you're going to play on, that is the player badge that everyone else in the game can see next to your name. The badge that is displayed shows the lowest difficulty you have ever played on. So if you start on ridiculous and you get stuck and you turn it down a few difficulties to get past, and then turn it back to ridiculous, it's going to show the lowest difficulty you turn to, and the shield will not increase. This is a great system, and I absolutely love it. It holds the integrity and shows proof that you actually played ridiculous all the way through, which is something to be excited about and a great way to get the ladies. Anyway, that's my video of what is Torchlight 3. I hope it helps someone out there having all this information all in one video. If you enjoy all the content on the YouTube channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your friends. I can't thank you guys enough for your support. It honestly means the world to me. I hope you all have a great day, night, wherever you're at. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.